Hey guys, I think we're live. Let me know how you guys are doing in the comments. So let me know if you guys could hear me, if the music's not loud. In today's video, I want to talk about the one project that you should probably build that could help you get hired. And the idea that I'm going to share with you is not an idea that I came up with originally, but I think it's an amazing project, and I'll tell you why in this fantastic live stream that we're going to have today. And right away off the bat, we have Luke saying, hello, coding at 37. Luke, nice. I am still, I'm 41 now, going to be 42 at some point. So you know what? The dream never dies. You just got to hustle, do the work, do what it takes to get there. And that's what this whole channel is about, doing what it takes. And, obviously there's so many different ways to get hired. And it's like, I don't know, like, there's so many stories where people either getting hired, not getting hired, and everybody has an opinion, including me on my channel. I have an opinion as well. And my opinion stems from actually my experience of getting hired. And let me tell you, it's not easy. There's a lot of things, especially if you don't have a computer science degree or you're switching careers. There's a lot of moving parts that you have to do. And so my thought process, if you're looking to get hired, you should probably have a standout portfolio. And from my experience working, all the things that I have to do at my job revolve around the basics of, knowing and understanding what CRUD is, create, read, update, delete, how it works from the front end perspective, understanding how to work with APIs, understanding the concept of authentication. And I think if you're going to have if you could do one project, something that if you were only to do one, like what should you build? Something that's going to make you stand out. And that's kind of what I want to talk about on this stream. And if you watched my, other stream where I'm coding, we're doing like this dev hunt project. And, and you probably already know my thoughts about it, but I'm going to talk about it more. What are some of the things, in my opinion, in terms of projects you should build to stand out if you want to get hired as a web developer? And also we will look at some articles that I randomly found. I didn't read them because I want to do this in real time about what they recommend. And I will talk about my feelings and what I feel people recommend. And what's up, Ivan? Good to see you here. Okay, so what's up? Yeah, and so that's what the live stream is going to be about. And we're just going to have fun with it. And the one project that I want to recommend to you guys to build, like, I didn't come up with it myself. I used to follow, like, back in the day when I first started my first job, I started learning C# and ASP.NET. And so I followed a lot of C# and ASP.NET channels. And one of those channels that I really like, especially if you're in that C# ASP.NET world, I'm not saying that you have to switch from React if you're doing React, or I'm not saying you should switch from ASP.NET to React if you're already doing ASP.NET. I'm saying that this is a channel where I got the idea for the project, and they have a couple of different videos, but the video that I really like, it's called One Project to Rule Them All. And they have two different videos on that. Let me share my screen. And the first video, they did it 2 years ago, talking about what is the best, if you were to build one project, what should that project be that showcases that you have the skill to get hired as a developer. And then they do a little demo and the walkthrough. So basically what they talk about is building a bug tracker or a project management type of software. And the reason why it's a great project, it's because not only do you need to understand development to build it, because you have full CRUD, create, read, update, delete functionality. You have authentication because you're going to have different users that are going to belong to different projects. So you have to be able to showcase that in your code, that you understand it. So that's a pretty complex project, and it's something that obviously you're not going to build overnight. Also, a bug tracker, any web development company, and this is what they talk about. I'm just stealing their idea, and I figured it's a great project. They're building it with ASP.NET and C#. And I was like, you know what? Why don't we build something similar? But I live in the React world. And for a backend, especially for beginners, let's use Strappy. Let's do that. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about why this is such a good idea. And based on all the projects that I'm building now, they all stem from my work experience, meaning that I know what my boss asks me at work to do, right? He says, Paul, this is what type of stuff you should be able to do. And so if I were to say, what would be a good project to build for you guys to put in your portfolio, I would say it would be something that mimics what I already do at work. You know what I'm saying? So instead of hypothetically saying, well, this is what you should build, my suggestion is based on the facts that I actually do at work. And so I'm not hypothetically saying this is what you should be able to do. This is something you should be able to do. Because why? Because this is exactly what I get asked at my job to do. And this is why I feel this project is a good idea. And we're going to talk more about it. We're going to look at some other recommendations, especially if you're looking to get hired as a front-end developer. And there are many opinions, and I want you to please understand, I'm not an expert, I'm not a guru, I'm just some dude who eventually switched careers into web development. And so I'm still in the trenches trying to negotiate and make this work. And I've been working as a developer for 3 years now, so things are starting to get a little bit easier. But I want to tell you my opinion why this is the bare minimum type of project you should build, because I am working now. The things that my boss is asking me to do, I feel like if you know how to do those, like, you would be able to get a job. And so that's what we're going to talk about and what type of project to build. So let me say hello to here, Lucky. What's up? Good to see you here. Then we got Northern Chimp. Hello. Hello. And Hologram Nunchucks, good evening. Well, good evening to you, fine sir, as well. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And so this is not like an original idea, but I used to, like I said, I used to study C#. I'm not saying you should switch to C#. I don't do C# anymore, but I used to follow this channel called Coder Foundry, and they have this idea for your main project. They talk about building a bug tracker, right? And then they have, you know, a video that they released last year where they show what is a bug tracker, what it should do, and they show a demo of one of their students. And the point is, I'm not saying that, you know, you need to go to their website and learn C# to do it. I'm not saying, like, whatever tech you're using, the point here is to build a project that implements CRUD functionality, has some sort of authentication, you're working with a database, and you understand how to work with APIs. And I keep saying it all the time that if you're going to build a project for your portfolio, what are some of the ideas? We're going to look at what the web recommends by Googling it. I think it'll be exciting to talk about. But in my opinion, if you're learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or React, or you're learning a different stack, you should still build a fully functional CRUD application. And I'm not saying you even have to build a backend from scratch. I don't actually recommend you build a backend from scratch, especially if you're starting out. But by having full CRUD functionality, by having authentication, by understanding how to work with a database, you're pretty much showcasing the skills that you are required to have to be productive at work. And that's 100%. So as a bare minimum, and this is why I call this, you know, on the thumbnail, it's like the bare minimum you guys have to know. You need to do this as a bare minimum to be able to have a project that's worthy enough to get hired. Obviously, building a project and build a portfolio is not the only thing that's going to get you hired, but it's a big help. And a lot of times, a lot of portfolios that I see and a lot of what I've done before in the past was just not good enough to raise any eyebrows for people to take me seriously in terms of, like, you know, web development. So a lot of people give advice. So in today's video, I'm going to give you my advice. Take it as a grain of salt. But listen, what do you think if we have two candidates? One person build a basic website that just shows, you know, basic data. You know, my name is Joe and this is what I have and look at my whatever. And someone build a project management website where you're able to actually add a project, you're able to manage it, you could log in, you could have a team of users, so there's this additional functionality. Who do you think is going to get hired? So the point, what I'm saying, and I know you're all starting out from the beginning, I know you guys starting somewhere, but the point that I'm trying to say is that the more complex project you build, the better off you're going to be. And Northern Chimp says he found an interesting channel today. Yeah, let us know what it is. You know, we could talk about it too. And so the point that I'm saying is that you should always not try to do the minimum. Like, everybody's like, oh, I'm going to do what's the minimum to get hired? What do I need to do to as a minimum, like the least amount of effort. Get that out of your head. You can't think like that. You can't think of what is the least amount of effort I'm going to do to stand out. You have to make sure that you do more than the minimum to stand out. It's like super important to understand that average is not good enough in today's society. You need to stand out. You have to put more effort into it to make sure that you're doing everything you possibly can to get hired. And I know I gripe on this a lot. And if you already have a job, that is awesome. That is fantastic. And if you have tips that help you to get hired, that is also fantastic. You know what I mean? But the point is that I'm trying to tell you is that there is no easy path and easy road. And that's why I talk about this idea of building more complex projects that showcase what you're able to do. If you watch my live stream on Tuesdays where I'm building my Dev Hunt project, it is, you could see that every time I'm trying to add more complexity to it. And here, if you guys, want to see so far what I built, and it's nothing to be proud of yet because it's work in progress. But if you go to Community One Project, I can't spell Community One Project. Okay. I'm gonna actually show you the project that we're building on our community stream. Nope, I don't want to look at the API. Community one project.com. I think that's the, yeah, let's go there. So this is like just, talk about the bare minimum you guys should build. And we're going to talk about, other projects similar to this. But the point is, you don't want to be happy with just a basic website where HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, because that's a hard requirement. Like when I say hard requirement, that's like the least minimum you should be able to do, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. But the point that I'm trying to say is that you need to, and again, this is work in progress, but let's take a look here. So we have a bunch of projects. This is basically going to be a website that's going to showcase a bunch of projects by developers, and eventually, you'll be able to do a lot of crazy stuff. But for now, we just, started with like, can we show the project? Okay, cool. You could see the project. You could see the live demo of the project. Fantastic. So this is like the website that we're building. You have the links to the GitHub. You could, see the basic information. If you want to leave a comment, you have to log in. So we incorporated some basic authentication here. And I don't remember my password, so I'm going to try. Okay, good. I was able to log in. Notice the dashboard shows up. So we have this basically section where you could add a new project. Let's go back here. We are able to like or dislike stuff. And so we're adding like additional functionality. You're able to add comments. Hello again. I can't spell again. Right? You're able to have this additional functionality that showcases just beyond the basics of you're able to do. We want to perform CRUD functionality like create, read, update, delete. So this is working with Strappy. We just last week implemented a blog section. Again, don't worry about the styling right now. We're just looking for the functionality, but we're constantly adding higher level like functionality. We also have this, if you stay idle for too long, there's going to be timeout modal that pops up, and if you are away from your computer, it will automatically log you out. We also have this feature, like let's say you want to log in, but you forgot your password. We actually implemented reset your password via email functionality. So notice how this is starting to add more complexity to our project. And let me say hello to Joanna, what's up? And Anna, what's up? Great to guys see you here. And Han, hey Paul, are you currently building a COVID-19 tracker? What library did you use for the pie chart? I think it was, I forgot what it was because I haven't like messed with it in such a long time. I think it was, I want to say charts.js. I don't remember, but I'm not working on that currently application. I kind of put it on the back burner. What I'm working on, this Dev Hunt website. And by the way, this is going to eventually, what I want to do, like for this website, I'm going to have, okay, like as a developer right now, there's not that much functionality because you're slowly working at it. But the point is eventually we're going to have a more fleshed out dashboard, which I'll show you some example of some dashboard, but eventually we're going to have something like this in the back end. I mean, this is like way beyond what we have right now, and this is like kind of my inspiration for the backend that we're eventually going to have in our Dev Hunt application. And also, this is something like your bug track would look like, and you could have data, like you could use charts, and you'll find a library for it, for like projects completed or what have you. You could have a table here. And the point is that notice how this has a certain level of complexity. Let me make this bigger. Like you have, you know, your dashboard page, you have, you know, chat feature. You know, I'm not saying that we have to incorporate all of these things at the same time. You have your projects window. You could see the list of projects, right? And so I'm actually going to use as an example talking about the bug tracker project that I want to start building. So I have the free Dev Hunt project that I'm working on currently that is living here. This is part of our Tuesday night stream, but I want to start working on another project based on the bug tracker. And I started a while ago. I put it on the back burner. I could actually show you some stuff like in CodePen. So like I started working on this bug tracker project. So far I created like the project cards. I created a table to showcase those projects, and I created a simple login. So I did already start this project a while ago, and I'm gonna bring it back because what I want to do is I started this community, and right now if you want to get and hop onto this community while I'm trying to figure out, so let me back up here. A bunch of you guys have been asking me like, hey, how can we support your channel? How can we give back to you? And so what I decided to do is I decided to start a private community on Coding After 30 community. And right now, to qualify to get onto this community, because I am going to make it paid community. And before you guys get all like crazy, oh my God, Paul's going to charge us money. Yes, I'm going to charge $2.99 a month. And think of it as we love Paul so much. We appreciate what he does. We would like to buy him a coffee once a month, so then I don't have to like pay for it. And so I started this community. And by the way, right now, if you want to join this community for absolutely free, like no price to you, and this is kind of like what I talk about. So I had this idea, let's like, how could I bring more value to this community? And so if you want to log in and if you want to join this community right now, you could do it for free until I'm able to set up payments. I'm like super lazy. And when I do set up payments, it's going to be $2.99 a month for now, where basically it's like buy me coffee, except that when you buy me coffee, like that website you use, you're just donating money. I don't want to be a donation. I want to have a community where you guys are getting some value. And by the way, if you're part of this community, I'm expecting you guys to work on projects, work on code. But if you want to join it, send me an email at codingafter30@gmail.com and send me a link to an active GitHub where you're writing code, or a link to your portfolios. If you're not building projects, like I'm not going to allow you to join here, because I want people who are actually looking to do the work, looking to code, not someone who just wants to talk about it. I want you guys to be about it, right? So this community right now, because I'm lazy and I didn't set up payments, if you want to jump on it for free, yeah, send me an email at codingafter30@gmail.com with a link to your GitHub or your portfolio. I have to see your code to see that you're serious. And then maybe next week or the week after that, once I set up the payments, the only way to get onto this platform will be doing $2.99 a month to start. But with that being said, I wanted to give, you know, like an additional, like one day I want to create a course and do all the stuff. So I figured, why not build something with a community and use that experience for me to create a course around it. So as you could see here, I'm starting a new section that's going to be called the bug tracker, and it's going to be community-based projects where we're all going to be involved. You guys are going to be able to ask questions. You guys are going to see the lessons that will be privately recorded to this community, right? And then you'll be able to have assignments that I didn't add yet, but you'll be able to do. So not that you have to join this group to be part of it. You could not join and just work on the projects, but I'm just saying and mentioning here, this will be the additional, like the value proposition for this community is like we're all going to be working on a bug tracker, project management website together that eventually I could take from what I learned from here and working with you guys, and maybe create a course in the future. Like I don't even know what I'm going to do, but I just want to say that. But you don't have to join the community to work on that project. And so what I'm saying for you guys is, let's kind of go, is a bug tracker is an application that if you are able to build it, right, and kind of make it look like this, where you have a, I'm not sharing my screen, and this is basically a template I found, and I'm going to use this template as an example. You could check it out free on ThemeForest. Just look and search on the Adminto. Like, if you don't believe me, this is how I find my layouts. I go to ThemeForest, I'm going to type Adminto dashboard, and boom. Like, you don't even have to purchase it. You just click on it. Look, I bought it just because I want to support the people that made it. But you could literally see live preview, and now you have a basic UI of what things look like. And so what I'm saying to you, imagine building an application that looks like this. And again, you could use some libraries for charting and graphing, but you have, you know, an inbox of messages. You have a table of projects that you're currently working on. You're able to show the statistics for the projects. You have different users that are working on it. You could have a, you know, let's see, you could have a login page that you build, right? You get all these features that you're building your application. And what do you think? How good and awesome would this look if you have this on your portfolio rather than like a simple basic website? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't build a basic website. I'm not saying, like, this is your cornerstone project. So if you go to my community that you have to be invited to, I created this checklist and I shared it on Twitter. And so this is my checklist on getting hired and getting your first job as a developer. So here's the basic outline I follow to get hired. It's not set in stone, but it's a really good suggestion. I know someone personally who followed most of the steps of this plan. I was able to get hired, included some links, blah, 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 blah. So first thing, like, you should know the basics. And for the basics, you should have GitHub account set up, you should have LinkedIn set up, and you should have a portfolio site template. And look, I'm not just talking about it. Like, I have this set up. I have my LinkedIn set up, you know. I have my, that was my GitHub that I just showed, but I call it LinkedIn. I have my LinkedIn account set up, you see, right? And there's a bunch of people that send me messages. Great, I'll take a look at those later. And so, you know, the bare minimum, this is what you got to do. You got to have these things, you know, and I'll show you how. But you want to have a portfolio template site, which is basically your, I call it your resume or business card website. I bought this template. It looks professional. This is where you put your information. And as you build your projects for your portfolio, you could add a portfolio section here and work on that. So that's the bare minimum, like, to get started. You should have GitHub, LinkedIn, portfolio. Then I talk about the projects. And so for projects, you should have basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript website. You know, you should have a basic React application using an API where you're at least using the get method. And I showed some examples. Here's a basic HTML and website I did a while ago, you know, with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then I also created this React application that gets and uses GitHub API to show some stuff. And finally, the last project, damn it, wrong link. And finally, the last project is my cornerstone project, which is going to be this Dev Hunt website. They're still in the process of building. By the way, if you enjoy what I do here and want to support the channel, or just to show how awesome you guys are, you can smash the like button, but don't smash the like button on my behalf. Smash it for the awesome people that are here. And we have Vinyl Guy coming in. Anna saying that project is sick. It really coming along. Yeah, it's going to take some time because I'm only working on Tuesday, but it is coming along, and I'm excited to have you guys on the journey helping me get this done. You know, hold me accountable. Happy Saturday, everybody. Happy Saturday. I'm definitely in. Yeah, 100%. And so, you know, I have this... And then, so these are the 3 portfolio projects, and your biggest one is going to be your cornerstone project. So Dev Hunt is my cornerstone project, but I want to start a community project, which is going to be the bug tracker and the tech we're going to use, focused for people who are just starting out. So on my cornerstone project, I'm using GraphQL. On this project, we're just going to do basic REST API. For the bug tracker, the tech used is going to be HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React Router, Style Component, PostgreSQL, and Strapi as a back end. And that will get you pretty far in terms of building a substantial project that could help you get hired and get a job. And then, you know, after you have your 3 basic projects, well, number 3 is not going to be your basic project. It's going to be your complex cornerstone project. We talk about doing company interview researching what companies require to pass the interview, what kind of interview questions they ask. Know that beforehand. We talk about company interview prep, like prepping specifically for the companies by looking at Glassdoor, seeing what questions those people are asking and preparing for them. Talk about the resume improvements, doing mock interview prep and networking, which is huge. And then bonus, all of you guys who want to stand out, everybody should have a blog. And I'm super bad at it, but I have a blog at Coding After 30. Coding After, oh my God, Coding After, you could see how, oh my God, .com. I have all these like auto complete things that messing me up. But I have this blog that I started where I would write articles, and I'm really bad at this, by the way. I'm still trying to get better. I'm going to write more articles in here. But, you know, I wrote an article of how to build, you know, this wonderful component to log in using React and styled components, and I shared it on my LinkedIn. So this is a good thing for you guys to start doing if you want to build your authority as a developer, as a programmer. So that's kind of like what I'm doing on the community. And again, you don't have to join the community to get all the benefits, but this is why I talk about building a bug tracker and or project management software as your portfolio piece is an amazing idea because it showcases a level of complexity in your application that is just not found in basic websites. And again, when you have a project management system or a bug tracker system, most of the time when you're interviewing, all these things are going to be familiar. And again, I didn't come up with this idea myself. Like the video that I recommend a lot of you guys watch, even though from its ASP.NET and C# channel called Coder Foundry, but they have a video called One Project to Rule Them All. And you know what we're going to do? And they released a video, the One Project to Rule Them All. Why not? Let's just watch kind of a little bit of it, because I do want to give credit to all of them and talk about. So this video here, let me share my screen. Let me stop my music for a second so we could hear the sound. Again, I'm not going to show the whole video, but you guys could check it out. It's called the Coding Project, guaranteed to get you hired. And obviously this is going to be commercial here. And this is when I used to be into C#. I'm not into C# anymore. Not things wrong with C#. You could get hired with C#. You could get a job with ASP.NET. It's just there's too many things to learn. So I had to kind of limit myself and figure out what do I want to focus my time on to like learn this tech stack that I want to do that's in demand in my area. So for me, I decided to go React and all JavaScript, including React, JavaScript, NodeJS, and everything React related, rather than jumping and going to ASP.NET. My last company where I needed to know ASP.NET, I continued learning ASP.NET and C#, but when I left that company, now mostly work with React and JavaScript and Node, and so that's going to be my tech stack. But both are great. They're both really good, and they're both going to help you get hired. So this is what
the one coding project you should build
they recommend.
Guarantee that you get a coding job.
So they're going to talk about the one project to build. And
so choosing a coding project for your portfolio, it can be difficult and sometimes very challenging, especially for a beginner. So you're here looking for a project, or you're building a portfolio, and I want to congratulate you on building.
So anyway, so I'm going to give you the synopsis. You could check out this video, the one coding project that you guaranteed to get your software development job. And what they talk about is their project, the bug tracker. And so they talk about how you should have, you know, authentication, you should do full CRUD and all this other stuff. So I really highly recommend you guys check out this video. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copy and paste this link in the chat for you guys to see it later. And, you know, before people tell me like, oh man, Paul, you're promoting somebody else's, I don't care. I like these guys. These guys are really good. They build their bug tracker with ASP.NET and C#, not something that I'm all about. And, you know, like I like these guys so much. Back in the day when they did their Learn Coder Foundry, I actually did buy their subscription for their, I don't remember my password, but I bought the subscription to their bootcamp. And so I have access to their course. I'm not doing it because, again, I'm no longer into ASP.NET and C#. Nothing wrong with that. I'm more about working on JavaScript and React tutorials. And then they are the ones who promote this idea of building a project like bug tracker. And the reason why they talk about building a bug tracker, and I just want to, I don't know why I'm even sharing this. Let's see, like this is blah, 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 the type of projects they build. Anyway, this is like irrelevant for what I was talking about, but I just want to show you that I support these guys, that I bought their stuff, even though I'm not currently learning from them. If you doing ASP.NET and C#, I just wanted to throw them some love. They're self-taught, self-paced, learn to code, C# bootcamp is pretty good. Anyway, like I'm just going to go back here. So anyway, the point that I was trying to say, in their project, they talk about building a bug tracker. Why? Because for a bug tracker, and you have a dashboard, you have different number of users, you have this ability of, storing the information in a database, you have authentication, you have full CRUD functionality that you need in order to make that application work. So let me go back to their other video where they show basically a demo of what it is. And the reason why I want to show you this is because you guys have to understand. And by the way, Northern Chimp, I completely lost my mind and wasn't attention, but I do follow him actually. He's really good content, and you guys definitely go check out that channel, 1 Minute Coder, pretty good. But I do follow him. And Engine Boy, what's up? And anyway, let's take a look at the demo here. And so, of course, let's do the ads on my channel. Great, sounds good. But the point that I'm saying is that you want to look at the demo of this project to see that a simple HTML and CSS JavaScript website is just not enough to kind of showcase that you know what you're doing. You need to have a more complex application. This is something that I keep talking about on this channel. This is something that is important to me because I know if you want to get hired, you need to demonstrate a certain level of complexity that allows you to not only have a portfolio that's going to catch an eye of a recruiter or an employer who's going to be like, wow, they're doing exactly the stuff that we're doing at our job in terms of functionality. That means they know what they're doing, but also from the standpoint that you will learn higher level concepts that you must know as a junior developer. Like as a junior developer, you need to know CRUD, you need to know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You need to know React. You need to know how to work with asynchronous data fetching, especially if it comes to JavaScript. You need to know promises, async, await. You need to understand callback functions. There's so much stuff. You also need to be able to work with APIs and all this other amazing stuff. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because if I didn't know this, or let me rephrase that, I didn't get my job until I felt somewhat comfortable with all those things that I just mentioned, because that is the bare minimum barrier to entry. You actually need to do all those things. So if you want to have a project that will help you to get hired, this is the type of project you have. So let's take a look at the run through. I'm not saying that you have to build this exact project, or you have to, build with the exact tech that they use. They're using C# ASP.NET. In my case, I'm going to build this project using React, and I'm going to show you some examples that I already started, blah, 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 blah. But I just want to show you that this is kind of stuff you need to know.
One project guaranteed to get you a software job. Before we get started, hit the subscribe button.
Yep. Go subscribe to Code Foundry channel. Go to Code Foundry channel and subscribe if you like to. They actually give a lot of great advice, even though you might not be interested in ASP.NET. But I'm just going to fast forward here a little bit. Bug tracker from a real student who's getting ready to graduate right now. So they're basically going to showcase a bug tracker application one of their students made, who's looking to to get hired because they're about to graduate. They build a bug tracker. And this is where I got the idea. This is the only reason I'm showing you guys this channel, because I don't want to take credit for somebody else's work. They came up with this idea. I think it's amazing, building something like a bug tracker or a project management app. And so I want to show them the love, because and I realized I wasn't sharing it. I wanted to show you guys the love, these guys the love, because they're the ones who came up with this idea. It's not my original idea, and I want to give them credit. So the fact is that, you know, they're onto something, and they're getting graduates from their bootcamp, getting jobs because they're building something that's more complex. And again, they deal with ASP.NET and C#. I'm not saying that you have to switch to ASP.NET and C#. I'm not doing that. I'm more React and JavaScript, but I was saying the project itself, you could build in whatever tech is in demand in your area. But this is kind of wanting to show you some of the things here.
The only thing I ask is just be mindful.
Okay, let's see. Let's fast forward a little bit. So number one,
before he got here, and now job. So let's look at the bug tracker.
Yeah, let's look at it.
One of these students that we have here at Code Foundry has just created. I want you to take a moment to look at what we're talking about, a bug tracker, and what it is and the scale and scope of it. Many of you said it would take a year to build. Many are saying it's too hard. Many don't understand exactly what the scale and scope is, or even how to go approach building one. So this demo of a real life student project coming out of our school right now today, getting ready in the market here in the next week.
So they're going to do a demo of the project like I mentioned before. And the most important part is already you could see that they have this concept of authentication. The whole point, you don't build an application which just has this view where if you click, nothing happens. You actually need to implement authentication with a password and an email, and they have the sign in login. And again, I'm going to kind of go through this. They also talk about this important tip. Make sure you have a demo user that you make it easy for people, you know, utilize your application. So that way, if recruiter or an employer is looking at your project, they don't need to create an account from scratch. They already have it. And notice, like I mentioned, like on my Dev Hunt project, we actually incorporated all these features. We have login by email. We have our sign-in. We have forgot your password reset. The only thing I didn't do on my current project is I didn't implement sign-up functionality because I don't want random people signing up at the moment. But if you look at, let me kind of do this. So this is my project. And again, I don't really care about CSS at this moment. I just want functionality. But we incorporated login via email, and we have forgot password, which will you know, allow you to reset your password with your email. We actually implemented all the backend logic as well with Strappy, but I'm just showing you that, guys, because, you know, this is the bare minimum. You should be familiar with that if you're looking to build a portfolio to get hired and get a job.
We do here, and I think you should do for any kind of project that you would put out. And if it needs a login, which I think every project that you put out should have a login because it demonstrates authentication, authorization, a very critical skill in full stack web development.
Authentication, critical skill in web development, 100% true. And if you're familiar with it and you're able to showcase it on your portfolio cornerstone project, you're already going to be standing out. And so blah, blah, blah. They provide demo user login, which I like how they give a bunch of sections. You could be an admin, you could be a project manager, developer, because they have this idea of multiple users. And this is another like cool fact here, is that they're taking into account this idea of multiple users. You have someone who's an admin that has different roles. You have a project manager who has different roles. You have, yeah, I'm not playing the video right now, and I constantly I'm really bad at showing the right screen. But anyway, hopefully you guys can see now. They have a developer, they have a submitter, and so they have this idea of roles. For a different user, they have different permissions. And this is something you should be familiar with and be able to do. And I'm not saying you have to build all this from scratch. On our project, you're going to use Strappy, and I'll talk more about it. But you have this concept of different types of users. Again, not a basic website, right? They're working with authentication, concepts of different users who have different permissions to stuff they're allowed to do. And then they show their application. And again, this is one of their students did it. And the whole point is this already looks more complex than what it is that a basic website is going to be. And we'll come back to this video in a second. Let me just look at the comments here, because more important that I start engaging with you guys, because I love talking to you. So Engine Boy says, okay, how do I see your comment? Did my computer, okay, my computer's freezing sometimes. Hey Paul, when are we starting building the bug tracker? Well, we're going to start soon. So if you guys want to work on this project, again, this is going to be more through the community, or you could also do it on your own. But if you'd like to support the channel, that's where I'm going to put all the notes on whatever, but I'll talk about it later. But the point is, if you want to start doing this, number one, what I want you to do is research bug trackers. Like go into Google and search some bug trackers, and then I showed kind of like I'm going to use this on ThemeForce. Just look up Adminto, and we're going to use this as our UI template. We're going to recreate it, and I already started recreating some of the things here. This is code that I wrote, CodePen for our bug tracker. But if you want to kind of work on this, what I would say is, I have too many windows open. What I would say is, before I come back to this, go on Google and search bug tracker software and kind of familiarize yourself what it is. Blah, blah, blah. They have a bunch of ads. Probably don't. Bug tracker software, free issue tracker system from Zoho. And basically you see the layout, you see kind of what they look like. Kind of do your research and start to familiarize yourself with the concept, what a bug tracker is, what some of the stuff they have. And this is actually, I'm going to favorite this because this is, I'm going to add it to bookmark because I'm going to come back to this. And so you could see like they have a dashboard, they have bugs, they have milestone, they have forum, they have timesheet, they have reports. So those are all the things that we could add in our application to make it stand out. They have this dashboard layout. And so like you could see the template that I found that I'm going to use kind of mimics this layout. And I'm not saying we're going to recreate it 100%, but this is going to be more for, you know, kind of like getting ideas and getting kind of like inspiration. So this is what we're going to build, a bug tracker. So do your research for bug tracking, number one. Number two, look up a bunch of dashboard templates to get some ideas. And then number three, start figuring out the database structure for bug tracker. I don't even know if this search exists, but I just want to see what it comes up to. Create your own database bug tracker tool, blah, 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 checking your tool. Okay, database designing for a bug tracker. So I'm going to actually save this too because this is useful. So you could kind of get a glimpse of how I go about researching stuff, figuring stuff out. And so you could see that in this case, I'm going to make this bigger. It kind of shows some of the basic database structure. So start thinking about these things. You have project. The project should have an ID, name, description, modify. Then you have project access. You know, the users that have access to this project. Then you have user profiles, and then you have issues, which are your bugs. It will talk about issue ID, issue title, issue description type, priority, created by, all the basic stuff. And so start to kind of, you know, before building something, get an outline of what it is you're trying to build. So that's what I would say for homework for those of you guys who want to build this bug tracker with us. And by the way, this is going to be done on our private community right now. At some point, I'm going to charge $2.99, like $2.99. Again, this is just my ploy to get free coffee out of you guys a month. But we are going to keep this bug tracker for this private community. Now, I'm so lazy that I haven't implemented charges you money yet. So if you want to get access to this for free, and this is a requirement, if I don't get this from you, I can't add you to this. But if you want to get access to this for free, send me an email at codingafter30@gmail.com. You need to provide one of these two things or both. Either a GitHub account where you have some code committed to it, or provide a link to a portfolio project that you've built before, because I want to see that you're actually building stuff. So if you don't provide any of those things, I'm not going to add you guys to here for free. But anyway, enough plugging myself in the community, because you don't even have to be a member of this. You could just listen to what I do on my YouTube channel in terms of talking about what to build and kind of what I'm talking about now. Building a bug tracker, though, is amazing because we already reviewed that. We showed like this idea of authentication, different users, and now you could see this layout that they have here. They have a dashboard, they have managed roles and assignments. And this idea is that you should be able to understand this concept of different users have different roles, like being a developer, being the project lead, being an admin, and they should have different things that they're able to do, which is something that we're going to talk about on this project. Then I'm going to see they're logged in as a demo admin, so they have these additional items, which is manage projects and users. I guess I could make this bigger. And then they'll show you their projects, their tickets, and user profile. So this already, if you have something, you know, that looks like this with this type of functionality, you're already showing some level of being above the rest of people that are trying to get hired and get jobs. So let me play this video. We're actually watching Coder Foundry video because they were the ones who came up with this idea. So I want to give them credit, and that's why we're kind of going over it.
What this student has done, it doesn't allow you to save any changes so that he doesn't have bad data going into his demo app. So what I want to do is just show you kind of also how this works after you already have a kind of an account. And what I've done, I've created myself an account here. I'm going to sign in as me. And he's allowed me to be admin on his site. And we're going to look at it. So the first thing we did with the bug tracker is we created this dashboard. And these are, if you don't know what a bug tracker is, you basically have a couple of concepts in here. One is a project. And a project is a collection of tickets. And the tickets or the issues are the defects or the feature requests inside of that particular project.
So they're kind of going over a demo of what their students built, and already like we could see this level of complexity that they have. You have your dashboard, you have different roles that you have ability to add issues or tickets. And so we're not going to watch this whole video. I suggest you guys just Google the one project to rule them all, or coding project guaranteed to get you a development job. And I really agree with their statement, because exactly the knowledge that you need to build a bug tracker is exactly what you will be doing at your job when you're hired. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit, jump around, and like kind of showcase like different sections. So notice like
users are assigned to projects, and then the tickets for the projects, we can see the individual tickets for this project. And then
so again, this already looks more complex and substantial than your average website, because you have the users that are assigned to each individual projects. You have different tickets for the projects, and you have a way to manage them. They also have this concept of pagination, of showing, if next page, and you have their search implementation. So as you could see, this is significantly more complex than a regular website. This is why I'm telling you guys, as a bare minimum, you guys should all strive to get skilled enough at development that you're able to build a bug tracker or a project management system, because it's going to showcase that you have all the required knowledge that you need to get hired. So I'm just going to fast forward. So you're able to add tickets, you're able to edit tickets, you set the priorities. And so this is, he has a table, talk about the tickets that open, in progress, all this great stuff. And, you could watch the video at Coding Foundry channel. Just Google coding project walkthrough for coding project guaranteed to get you a development job. And you know what? I'm going to share it so you guys could watch it later. And a lot of people, always want to find the easy way to get hired. The point is, don't try to lower the standards to try to figure out what's the bare minimum you guys have to know to get hired. You need to raise the bar to get to a point where you're able to do the work that a basic bug tracker asks you. And again, this is going to be our cornerstone project that we're building. So it's not something I expect you guys to build in a day or 2 days, or even in 2 months or 3 months, because it's going to have a level of complexity that's going to help you, get the job that you need. And let me kind of look at the comments first before I get back on renting. And so we're going to start. I know I started answering this question, but we're going to start it. I'm going to try to start talking about it soon, and probably, like I showed you earlier in this video, start researching bug trackers to get a better understanding what they are. And you could literally start doing the research now. And Idrissa says this channel is set to take off. Maybe, who knows? But at the same time, because I don't benefit by selling snake oil to you guys like some of these other, I'm not saying that people sell snake oil to you. Like, the only reason I have this channel is to talk about my journey of what it took me to get hired. And my goal here is to only talk about the stuff that helped me get hired, and hopefully it helps you to get hired. And all this stuff, by the way, takes time. So when you see me start this private community, I'm doing it because I want to figure out how to allocate my time the best so I can. There's always going to be free YouTube videos on this channel. But for the private community, I want to make sure that I'm only involving people that are serious about making progress. And again, you don't even have to join the private community to make that happen. Anna says, Paul, you ever think about trying to incorporate Auth0? I think we are going to do that. So for this bug tracker project that I'm going to start, we're going to do the strappy way of implementing authentication first. And then eventually at some point, I am going to do Auth0. but it's definitely down the road. And then we have comment here. I'm actually struggling with the calc function on the Flexbox. Could you help me, please? Starting to give up from web development. Don't give up. Just don't be shy to Google stuff. Remember, all the struggles you're going through and feeling, that's perfectly normal. And instead of you have to understand that you are going to be the person who will eventually have to solve this issue. So if you're struggling with something with Flexbox and stuff like that, like keep Googling and keep trying, keep breaking code and keep doing stuff. But in order for me to help you, I would need to have or see an example from you. So send me a code example where you're struggling, and then I will help you with that, because I can't just be like, okay, I wonder what problem he's having and then try to guess here. But anyway, love the comments. So the whole point is I have this YouTube channel is because I'm using it in 3 different ways. Number 1 is to build my authority as a programmer. Like, because like I'm not like people like, oh my God, Paul is so nice. Like, the reason I have this channel is to live the life of a developer, talk about development and build my authority and grow on YouTube, not in terms of subscribers, but grow on YouTube in terms of like, hey, we saw when Paul started, he didn't know anything. Now he's actually coding. Now he's building projects. So you see my growth on YouTube, and 3 months from now, 4 months from now, a year from now, I'm going to be talking about more advanced topics, and all of this is recorded and saved on YouTube. So I'm starting to build authority as a developer online, which is something that other developers can't find or see, or recruiters are like, oh, Paul has a coding channel and he talks about code and he helps others to talk about code or learn how to code, or they're building projects, or they actually see the projects that I'm building. So this is like a way for me to advertise myself. Number 2, the best way to learn to program is by teaching others. The more you teach somebody else something, the better you understand it. Because in order to teach someone to like something, you need to understand it by teaching. And you will mess up. And guess what? Sometimes I mess up the stuff that I do. If you watch my live stream, I make mistakes all the time where I code. And the point is, the more I do it, the better I get at it. And the third reason why I have this channel, besides of practicing learning about coding through teaching, is also I'm practicing talking about code. I'm showing you my code. I'm able to talk about it. So I'm getting comfortable talking on camera to others about my code. When you have questions, Paul, why did you do this? It forces me to think about my code and give you an answer based on the code that I wrote. So it's helping me practice kind of getting comfortable being at interviews and talking about stuff. So even though I give you all this value, I created this channel to also help me build authority, build competency in programming, and also get comfortable talking about coding. And the reason I mentioned this to you guys, I'm not saying that you guys all have to become YouTubers and start YouTube channels, but record a video where you teach a concept. Even if nobody sees it, it's very important and very helpful. But besides all of that, like whenever I build projects on this channel, I'm not being like, oh, here's your basic website. Let's make a weather widget, or no, I'm more interested for myself. What can I build on this project that if I were looking for a job today, that project would stand out the most? I also talk about, and this is why I'm talking about this full CRUD authentication. Knowing all those things is the bare minimum that you have to know. I'm not talking about it with such a passion because I know for a fact that the more complex your project is, the more you stand above the average people trying to get hired, especially if you don't have a college degree, the better chances you're going to have. And that is 100% true. The bug tracker application that I showed you, the dev hunt application that we're building on our Tuesday night live stream, that's always going to be continues like for free on YouTube, until we finish that project, which is going to be forever because it's an evolving project. But the point is, the reason why I show you all this stuff and the reason why I do it and talk about CRUD, talk about authentication with such a passion, because I cannot see myself having a job right now if I didn't understand or able to do those things on a minimum level. Because everything I do currently on my job involves the stuff that involves CRUD. It involves authentication. It involves working with APIs and backends. And so if you're not building a project that showcases your knowledge of you being able to do that, it's going to be very difficult. And again, I'm not saying it from the standpoint that, oh my God, you just started to code, now you have to build a bug tracker. No, that's your cornerstone project. And if I show you the outline, if we go to the community, yes, and you could send it to my email, and it's codingafter30@gmail.com. You could send it here. And by the way, I also volunteer free time coaching. If you want to get some free coaching, you could go to codingafter30.com website, click here to schedule your one-on-one, and then you click the free button, and then you could see the times that are still available. You could click that and you could do a one-on-one for free. It's kind of like my community to give back to you guys. Obviously, if you want to pay me money, you could click on the paid one here, but it's up to you guys. The thing with the free one-on-ones, if the schedule fills up, it fills up, first come, first serve basis. So that's kind of like what we're doing. And yeah, and so you could send me the code, and this is actually like exactly what I was thinking, the calc function, and it's actually depending what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to calculate. And yeah, good idea, Adrisa. You could also post it on CodePen and then share it with us, and we could all help you. Yeah, that's very, very good suggestion, Idrissa. I really appreciate it. Yes, and so a lot of times, by the way, I go to CodePen, and whenever I'm trying to learn new things or figure things out or build something, like I'll practice and try it first in CodePen, write the code. And by the way, this is a great way to share your code with others to kind of showcase what you're learning. So like I wanted to learn about using multi-dimensional arrays to create these numbers, and so that are randomly generated. So I opened up CodePen and I started building. And the reason why I like CodePen versus like trying to do VS Code or more fleshed out development place is because I don't want to actually spend the whole time, doing the whole thing. I just want to try an idea, and CodePen is best because it's very limited. So it allows me to just try something quickly and be like, okay, if it works, great. If it doesn't, move on to something else. But anyway, yeah, you could post your code that you're working on CodePen and then share it with us, and we could help you guys out. But anyway, I don't even know why I showed that, but it doesn't matter because I'm just excited to talk to all of you guys. By the way, if you guys didn't smash the like button, don't smash for me, smash for these awesome questions and you guys, the community, because without you guys, this channel would not exist. And I say that all the time, but it's like you guys don't believe me. Let me grab some coffee. But the reason why I'm here is because of you guys, because of this amazing community. You guys, so awesome. And I'm so glad to be part of your community, guys, and talk about coding. And hopefully the stuff that we do here actually helps you to get hired. So we've been talking about this idea of building a more, let's turn the music back on, like why not? Because it's great when there's nice chill music in the background. But we're talking about this idea, like, look, if you're looking to get hired, you have to understand that you cannot, so I'm not saying it's you guys, but there's this concept. People are trying to always ask questions. What's the bare minimum I need to know to get hired as a web developer? What is the bare minimum, like, I need to learn to do this? Like, you can't think like that. You have to think about what, not bare minimum, but how high do I have to rise my skill, and what kind of projects should I build that allows me to prove my competency in coding and able to get a job. And that's why every project we're building on this channel evolves around something that has more complexity than like a simple website. Like, unfortunately, I don't think you could get hired anymore by building a very simple website anymore. I think as a front-end developer, not only do you have to know HTML or CSS, JavaScript, you also need to know React. You also need to know how to work with APIs with JavaScript and React. You have to understand what CRUD is. You need to understand what CRUD relates to, like, you know, create, post, read, get, delete, you know, delete, update is put, and stuff like that. And so you need to kind of learn all these things, and you need to build more complex applications. And in order to build more complex applications, you need to understand how to work with an API and a backend. And I'm not saying you have to make your backend from scratch. Like, I use Strapi. It's a very easy way to set up an API that allows you to do all those things. And if you've never used Strapi, you could go to their website, strapi.io, click Get Started, and it shows the documentation how to get started. And I created a video a while ago on YouTube, your channel. I'll share it in the link to you guys if you want to get started on Strapi with PostgreSQL. I'll put this link in the chat for you guys. You guys will be able to, you know, see it, and I walk through basic setup of Strapi and PostgreSQL, and by the time you're done, you pretty much have an easy way to create an API with Strapi that will allow you to do whatever else you need to do to make a more complex front-end project. And because the days of just a basic website, I don't think you could get a job anymore. You need to have some sort of application that shows some sort of functionality, working with an API. And yes, Luke, thank you, sir. I'm going to check that after the stream. And again, guys, if you're looking to want to join the private community, I don't know where, I have so many goddamn things open. But if you want to join a private community where we are going to be working on the bug tracker. By the way, Dev Hunt project I do for free on my YouTube channel, which is always going to be for free. But I want to add some value to the people that are in this community that are going to support me at $2.99, so I don't have to buy my own Starbucks coffee. I want to add more value to you. So we're going to work on this bug tracker project. But if you want to get on this for free, because I'm too lazy to get started on implementing payment, is I am going to basically allow you to join for free if you email me at codingafter30@gmail.com and send me a link to your GitHub or a portfolio project that you're working on. And if you have a portfolio project you're working on, you have GitHub, I will let you join this for free. And so this is kind of like my how I'm gonna get people, weed people out who are not serious. Is if you don't have a project, then I don't know what to tell you. And let's see here. And I'm just looking at stuff here. Okay, hold on a second. I got this huge file. Let me copy it. All right. Hold on a second. Give me a minute, guys. Try to open my VS Code, but my VS Code is like they gotta nope. Close the VS Code quickly. Close the VS Code, my super secret work project that I can't show anybody. So I have to open a new window for VS Code. Give me a moment. Can't show the super secret code I'm writing for my work. I said new window. New file. Come on. Post this. Paste something in here. Come on. Okay, so this is the CSS file he sent to me. Let's see if there's calculation. So basically, you must talking about this calculation function. So all it's doing is just calculating basic math here. So And I'm not going to be able to like do all the stuff just because it's going to take a lot of setup for me to connect the HTML. And I mean, more setup than I want to do on the Saturday at the moment. But I'm basically going to tell you here what he's doing. So basically, he's doing simple math. All calculate means, all that it means. So like, so basically what I wanted to kind of get rid of this and copy it, but basically what calc means is gonna do basic math for you. So I'm gonna show you here in CodePen. So where'd my screen go? Where go to CodePen. So by the way, first I'm gonna say this to you. Number one is the first thing you should do, and I'm going to show it in a pen here, but the first thing you could do, you go calc function CSS. That's number one. It's like if you're looking to code and you're learning, whenever you don't know anything, I'm not doing this to kind of point anything out or be like, hey, why don't you do this? But you need to read the documentation first, and MDN is probably a better place to read stuff, but I'm going to also open W3 code. So whenever you have a question about something, you need to go and actually read the documentation first so you could kind of get an idea. And as you could see here, if you do that, they show what the function is. It could be used anywhere, blah, blah. That's actually a very bad description here, but that's fine. And notice what they're doing. You could calculate the width. So what calculate does is literally like a simple math where it will take 10 pixels plus 100 pixels. So then the width is going to be 110 pixels. So you're literally just doing basic math here. When they do calculate, you know, whatever the 100% width is, and if I click here, notice 100% width, and then you're minusing 30 pixels. So if I put this as 0 pixels, the width is going to be 100%. You see? So the width, and they must have some sort of padding, but you could see the width is 100%. And what calculate allows you to do, allows you to do basic calculations by being, I want to take 100% and minus, you know, 10 pixels, and or let's do 30 pixels. See how it got smaller. You could also do 100% minus 100%, which should basically probably break it, but it won't fit because you're basically saying this is going to be, you know, width of 0, but you could do 50%. So now the width is going to be 50%. So this like, so you're basically calculating two values. So if I want it to be, you know, 50 pixels plus 50 pixels is going to be total of 100 pixels. But what I'm saying is, like, don't be shy, look at the documentation. Like, for instance, if I do 50% plus 50% is going to be width of 100. Width of 100. You see, it's the same as if I just wrote 100%. So basically, that's just a way for you to calculate basic math, right? And that's all it is. And what they were doing in that example, they were basing the calculation that you sent to me here. They're basically, for your flex, for the third argument, they wanted to do whatever that 50% is minus 2 rem. And so, number one, make sure that you look at the documentation. And so that's all it does, right? Okay, so let's say now that we know that that's what it does. I just showed you like how to Google it, right? You start with, and I'm showing you how to do it so you could do it later yourself. I'm not, you know, I get it. So we looked at the different examples. Here's another example where they're showing you what the calculation does. So let's go back to the code that you sent me. I'm just showing you how to learn so you know this for the future, so it's easier. Now we're like, okay, we know what calculation does. It basically calculates the, you know, two items, like doing simple math. Now I'm like, okay, I don't know what flex is. Okay, I'm just kind of showing you here. How would I do it? I would go and look up flex CSS. And this is the article that I like to use, complete guide to Flexbox with whatchamacallit, by CSS tricks. And by the way, when you have a big article like this and you want to search something, I think you could do Command F and type flex, and it's kind of going to help you find the stuff you like. So here we go. We found the flex property, and this talks about in the flex property, yes, and that's absolutely true, but I'm taking the long road, kind of showing how to calculate this. I know there's calculations more down, but I just want you to understand that you need to understand what the function does, calculate, which is basically allows you to add or divide or subtract any two values. Then an example was using flex. So then you want to see what flex is, and the third value in flex basis. This is exactly where I'm getting to, right? The most important thing you could do, my man, is to understand that you need to, before posing questions, give a legitimate effort of Googling stuff. So I showed you, we looked up first the calc function that you had a hard time understanding in the example. We kind of did what it did. We figured out what it does. It basically allows you to add a bunch of values together or subtract or divide. Then in this example, you're like, wait, why is it being used as a third argument here? Like, what does it do? You know, what's the third argument in flex? So we went and we searched flex, and it's a shorthand, which first argument is flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis. Okay, and that's basically what it's doing. It's setting flex basis with that calc function. If you're not sure what flex basis is, right? And I'm just showing you exactly how I would look for those solutions. Is you find it. And so flex basis in Flexbox, it defines the default size of an element before remaining space is distributed. It can be length of 25 rems or a keyword. And basically the flex basis, it sets the item to what the width would be, or the length, whatever you describe, before all the remaining items are distributed. And so we could look at that example that you showed. This is in the about info. I'm assuming there's a parent component right here. And again, I have to look at the HTML, but I'm just kind of showing you like what I do when I get stuck, when I'm not sure how something is working. Take it on individual basis, figure out what calculate is, figure out what flex is, and then go into CodePen, right? And play with it. You know, go to CodePen, create a pen, and play with it. So if you can't make a simple example, let's say, like, then you need to keep practicing. Like, so we have a parent, and the parent probably could have it probably has a display of flex and some other stuff. And then usually you put your flex stuff inside, you know, we have a div here. Yeah, no, I get it. I know I have HTML and email, but what I'm showing you here is, you know what, let me come back. The more important thing here is if, like, and I shared the link on setting up, like, you could get a one-on-one with me for free, or I could send you an email afterward. But on this stream, I'm not going to give you a solution unless you already tried to figure this out by yourself. What I want you to understand here is that by me giving you the answer is not going to help you, if that makes sense. And I do it from like lots of love, and I'm showing you how, like, what would I do in your situation. And I showed you that, number one, figure out what calc does. Number two, figure out what flex is, which we searched earlier here. Then 3, figure out what flex basis is, because we figured out that the third argument in flex was flex basis, which is where on your code example that you saw somebody else did, they were using the calc function. Then you go to CodePen and you play with it, you break it. Unless you did this step that I'm showing you right now, the reason why I'm showing you this right now is because if you don't play with it yourself, like this is what somebody said to you earlier, right? Let me go back here. Idrissa said here, can you post your code in CodePen and share the link here? What she meant to say is not copy John Smilga's code and paste it here and let me tell you what it is. What she meant to say, open CodePen yourself and rewrite the example yourself. By practicing rewriting the example in CodePen yourself out of the context of that main application, you're practicing by trial and error. And this way of trial and error is going to help you better understand what you're trying to solve. And then you'll be able to, based on your trial and error, get a deeper understanding of what it is that you're trying to do. So it's going to be a learning opportunity for you rather than me giving you the answer. And the only reason I'm saying this to you is because that this is exactly what everybody needs to do when they're learning to code. It's a normal part of figuring stuff out. And this is like, again, I'm not saying it because like I'm mad or not mad. It's the fact that it's going to make you a better developer. And this live stream, if you will have these coding questions, you know, you could ask me on the coding stream on Tuesday, or I'm going to privately answer your email. But on this live stream, I don't want to give you the solution because it's not fair for you. Why isn't it fair for you? It's because if I give you the solution, you're going to see it and but I want you to fail first. I want you to practice. I want you to go into CodePen, rewrite that example, and send me what you rewrote, and then I'm going to help you. And that will be the best way to get that stuff done. You know what I mean? You have to try and build it yourself and practice. And this is what I talk about, this idea of building stuff from scratch. And, you know, it's a important part of learning your lesson of how to do this. And so I am just trying to help you understand that the question that you're asking, before you ask for the solution, you should try the code yourself in CodePen. You should look up the stuff in the documentation like I showed, and then you should be able to try it, right? And then be like, okay, I tried it, I kind of get it, I still don't get it. And then you could send me that example, and then I could be like, hey, great, like I see your example, you tried it, now you're stuck, and this is why it's an issue. And so what I'm saying is, don't be shy to create an example, right? So here I am in CodePen, and again, do you understand what flex is, right? What does display flex do, right? So you try it. Like I just notice how, and before we do that, let me go to CSS here, dot box. Let me do padding 40 pixels. Let me do color, background, red, color, white. Let's give margin 5 pixel, margin 5 pixels. So this is what I'm saying when I talk about giving you an answer. You need to work in CodePen, and you have to make your own implementation of what you're learning rather trying to figure out from the code that John Smilga wrote. So for instance, can you write this code that I wrote here and explain to me, like, what does flex do? Like, why when I removed flex, why does it show the content like this? Like, you need to know that before you could continue answering your question. Once you understand this, then you need to be able to, okay, on box, and I'm going to do box 3, right? Just to kind of show you. So our box 3 is going to be blue. Then what you need to do, you need to add flex. Why were they, like, you see, let's do 100%. So the example that I was showing you before, yeah, see, now that you're thinking about it and you're able to kind of think about it, because display flex is for block elements, without him it's inline element. So actually display flex is, so you have to understand that div on its own. Okay, let me show you another example, right, before you give this answer. So look at this. So I'm going to remove this right now just to kind of show you. You need to kind of practice a little bit more HTML, CSS. So div is, yeah, I love developing on Mac. But if you're using Visual, okay, let me rephrase that, Luke. I love developing on Mac if I'm not doing C# and ASP.NET. When I was doing ASP.NET and C#, I did it on Windows using Visual Studio Windows, because on Mac, doing ASP development on Visual Studio for Mac sucks. And then using VS Code also sucks, because there's a lot of stuff that Visual Studio on Windows has that don't come by default. So if you're doing C# and ASP.NET, I would not use anything else but Windows, unless you have like an amazing workflow environment with VS Code, or you bought, like, so for Mac, I ended up buying Writer to help me code better in C# and ASP.NET. I hope that answers your question. But anyway, coming back to this example. So you were saying that flex makes it inline or block, but let me show you this. Imagine this was not a div, but this was a span. So now all of that is in line, right? So you need to know the differences between div and span, how spans are inline. Div is inline box, not inline box. Div is a block scope, or what? Not block scope. What do you know what I'm trying to say? So let me go back here. Div is a block level element. And so when you're, okay, you're adding flex and it kind of puts it in line. Okay, you're right. So now we have that answer. So let me go add this flex. So next you need to understand what flex does. And that's why I showed you earlier, you know, go search and see what it says. And then we looked at it, flex. This is shorthand for flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis combined. So when you had that example in the code, and I'm only sticking to this example, I'm going to copy this. And notice by trying it here, so I go to box 3, I'm going to paste your example here. Oops. Notice by trying it on my own, I'm able to kind of see like what effect this has. So, and I could play with it. So you could figure out, you know, you could try it. Well, what would be if I do, you know, 100% here? You know, and this is what I'm trying to get to you. Unless you experiment yourself, 100% plus 50 pixels. So this is flex basis, which basically says take 100% of the space that's available and then add another minus 50 pixels. And I'm kind of curious why this is like this. And through your curiosity, you just have to test. And maybe what I need to do here in parent, width. Let's do max width and see how I'm just experimenting. And this is what I'm saying. Let's say it's 80%. 80%. And then margin auto 0 and auto. See what it does. Okay. Max with display parent, blah, blah, blah. And then just experiment. So now I'm like, okay, why doesn't this, like, why is this way? So then, you know, play with it. And this is what I'm kind of getting to you. Unless you did this example, you know, like in CodePen where I'm like breaking stuff and I'm trying to figure out why is it doing stuff. And then when I'm not sure why something is doing what it's not supposed to, I'm like, okay, what is happening here? What if I put like 1 here? What does that mean? Like you need to experiment like with this. Why if I put 10 pixels, what does that do? You need to experiment and try it. So, okay, what does it do if I put 100%? So the reason why I'm showing this, it makes it, you know, stretch the remainder of the allowed space, right? And so you need to mess with it. And unless you try this, and do I like, let's say I'm you as a beginner, do I get the full answer of what I'm trying to do here? Not yet, but then I could continue going back to my articles, searching, seeing, okay, you know, what does that do? Okay, how do you use Flexbox, you know, and try it. Like, so, okay, I took like the longest way to answer the simplest question. Is your job as someone who's learning to code, this is the rule that I use. If I have a question, I don't ask it right away. The first thing I do is I read and search it on Google, and I try to find example. I still don't ask the question. Second thing I do is I go to CodePen and I write some practice code in isolation, you know, and be like, okay, can I figure out what the code is doing in isolation? So I'll write the code, but I still don't ask the question, because the third thing I do based on my code in isolation and playing with it, can I figure out what the issue is? And then what I would go, and another thing you could do is Google again, you know, and search Flexbox, search whatever it is that you're doing. And the third time when you're stuck, before you ask a question, what's going to happen? Like, let's say I'm stuck here. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to be like, hey, Paul, I have this question. I can't figure out the answer. And then you could send me the code like this, like I just sent the CodePen in the comments. And now I'm not looking at John Smilga code that somebody else wrote. I'm looking at the code you wrote. That shows me 3 things. Number 1, it shows me that you try to solve it yourself first. Number 2, it shows me that you wrote the code yourself, and so the question that you're going to ask me, you actually know what question you're asking me. And number 3, I'm going to be able to help you in the context of your example. And the reason why I show you this, because it's more value to you to follow that step and to do that. And Web Dev Junkie says, yeah, experimentation is a great way to learn. It's also important to read in the docs the purpose of the arguments we pass to flex properties. Sometimes I forget just to read the docs, and that's 100%. And so I took this long-winded roundabout way to kind of basically say that if you have a question, make sure you experiment in isolation and play with it first before you actually reach out and have someone give you the answer to the question. Because in the long road, that's something that's going to help you get farther faster. And so let me look at the comments. I know we've been on for a while. I hope this was somewhat useful. And again, like the reason why I give these type of answers is because it's the same answers I give my daughter when she asks me to do something, is that, you know, the most important skill I could help someone develop is ability to solve problems on their own. Like, I don't want you to constantly go to me for answers. I want you to be able to find your own answers.
Yeah, Luke, and that's like kind of what I was saying like earlier. VS Code on Macs, Visual Studio sucks. Don't use it. That's why I said just do development on Windows. But VS Code, yes, it is amazing on Mac. Fantastic. But if you need a Mac for whatever reason and you're doing ASP.NET and C Sharp, I would get Writer, like what I have on my computer when I used to do C Sharp. Is I have this amazing software here. I'll show you. I know I didn't delete it, or come on, don't tell me I deleted it. I can't have, like, I still love, don't tell me I deleted it. I still love C Sharp sometimes. Don't tell me I deleted this amazing application. Yeah, so it's here. I spelled it wrong. So I have Writer for Mac. And so if you do any ASP.NET development, yes, it costs money, but if you have a student email, you could get this for free as a student. But what I love, if you're doing C Sharp ASP development on Mac, is to use Writer. And once it opens, I'm going to show it to you. And it's way significantly better, than way significantly better than Visual Studio in Mac. So, and this has a lot of great functionality. Why is my site window closed? But regardless, yeah, here it is. And so basically you get really good experience coding. The only thing that I would say for me, because I have an M1 Mac Mini, it seems to move a little bit slow because I don't think they have a version that's made for the native M1 user, or maybe I'm doing something wrong, sluggish. But if you're doing C Sharp and ASP.NET, using something like Writer on the Mac is like really, really, really good. And you get all that stuff you get from Visual Studio, and it's a lot easier to implement the database and all this other stuff. And so anyway, I just wanted to show you Writer versus, using Visual Studio. Anyway. Yes, Luke is looking for C Sharp guys assemble. I still cry in interviews, Luke, 100%. By the way, when we're going to be building this bug tracker project together, you're not going to be using my code. You're going to be writing your own code. I'm going to share code examples I'm going to talk about, but it's going to be all in context of learning. And you all will have your own GitHub repository where you will be writing your own code. You're not going to be copying, pasting code. I just want to make that clear. The way I teach stuff is I talk about the concepts, but you will be doing all the work, just in case people are surprised. Yeah, it's such a common issue, and they're very elusive to catch, problems connecting. And so we even had that at my job where even senior devs would scratch their head trying to figure out what's going on. Yep, that's a good advice. Get the spaces in there. Yeah, that's a great question. That's why you need to experiment and try it. And when that does happen, you got to figure out why it's happening. And again, if I had more time, I would basically keep working on that one project in CodePen until I got it to work and understood why stuff was doing it was doing when I was putting minus. Like, why was it getting bigger? You know what I mean? But that only comes from experimentation and understanding, like, why you know, that broke in the first place. Listen, I saw senior developers Googling stuff when I worked at my company. And 100%, like, look, like, I don't, like, the reason why I tell you read the docs, try it yourself, try to figure out, play with it, break it, is because that's the most important skill you could develop as a developer. Because, like, I wanted to learn GraphQL subscriptions, and the way to do it is to go through the docs, read about it, build a simple GraphQL server, and try it out yourself. Like, yeah, I could look it up how to do it and then use it on my application, but you need to build it, break it to understand it. And that's the teaching style I practice, and I want you guys to understand that as well. Yeah, this is a good tip right there. For our coworkers, it's good to implement the 30-minute rule. That way you can share things you Googled and tried that didn't work. So if you're stuck at your job, and I learned this lesson the hard way. If you try something for 30 minutes and give it real effort and you're still stuck, definitely reach out to someone and ask for help, or have them point you in the right direction. What's up, Woo? How you doing? Yeah, and I'm sorry that I'm kind of being like giving you the like an answer that's not clear yet. And the reason why I'm doing that, because I don't want to give you the answer. I want to give you the reasons what you should be doing, trying to find the answer yourself. Because and it's hard at first, I get it, but as you get better, as you keep practicing finding stuff for yourself, you're going to have the skill to find the solution yourself. And that's why I kind of say that stuff, because I don't want you to get because that's the normal part of web development, is that a lot of times even I don't have the answer in the stuff that I'm doing, and I go through that process of trying to figure that out. Yeah, M1 is pretty cool, and the newest, greatest M1 Max came out, and like whatever, they're like 3,000-4,000. My friend just bought one for $5,000. I'm like, oh my god, I can't do that. It's a lot of money. But one day, it's called in Ohio. Oh man, not yet in Texas. Use JetBrains 100%. If you're working on Mac and you're doing ASP.NET, JetBrains 100%. Yeah, definitely should start learning React. A lot of the jobs that I looked at, a lot of them do require React. And again, I'm not saying that you can't get a job with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but start learning React. And as we start building this bug tracker project, we're gonna talk about using React, and I'll help you guys as best as I can. So hologram nunchucks, I would start like super simple first. If you haven't built a React application yet, just start building a React application and use Context API. And if you need to manage state globally, and start there. In terms of using Flux data flow, like I wouldn't even worry about that. I would, if it's an issue and your application is complex enough, you could use Redux. But at some point, like when you're starting out, Context API will be fine. And PubSub, I haven't tried using PubSub model yet, to be honest with you. But if you've never built a React application, start easy and just go through all the native options first before trying something new. Otherwise, it'll be too much too quickly, if that makes sense. I still heavily Google stuff, lol. Everybody does. And blah, 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 blah. JetBrains, if you have a student EDU account, or you could find someone. Hey, thanks so much. And again, I hope I was helpful. And the most important thing is that just keep doing what you're doing. You're right on the right path. And if something doesn't work, don't worry about it. keep trying it, because that's how you learn, is through trial and error. And man, thanks for staying up so late. Really appreciate you, my brother. And have a good night. And come back to JetBrains. So you could get with a EDU account, or you could say you are a student, you could get it for free, otherwise you have to pay. But if you have a Windows computer, just use Visual Studio if you're working on Windows. Yeah, the most important part before I go is, if you do tutorials, and you could do like 30 tutorials easily, you might not know let me answer this question first, and then I'll come back to what I was going to say. So hologram notches, that's awesome. Fourth React portfolio, try to increase complexity with each project. So I guess what I would say, what is the most complex project you build? Because I kind of not sure exactly what you built. So if you implemented full CRUD and you have authentication, right, and you've done a project like that, then you could look into PubSub and try to kind of figure out that pattern and use it your next project to learn that. And actually, that's what I would say. If you are building your fourth project and you already build a CRUD application with authentication, which has a bunch of stuff that you're doing, you're managing state, let's say with context API, you could look into doing Redux next, or looking into PubSub pattern that I personally didn't use yet, but something on my radar. So that's what I would say. Then in terms of, not copying stuff, you could do like 10 tutorials and you could have amazing portfolio. But if you copy and pasted those tutorials and you're at an interview and someone goes to you, well, why did you write this function here? And you don't have the answer because you copied and pasted, it'll be detrimental and you won't get hired. Like a lot of times when I sit at work, this is what happens to me at work. I sit at work and someone says, the guy that's reviewing my code will be like, hey, Paul, why did you write this function here? And I can't be like, I don't know, or I'm not sure what it does. So I had to give my reasoning for it. And sometimes he'll be like, Paul, I don't think you should have used it here. And then I tell him the code, I tell him the reasoning why I wrote it, and then I show him why I did it here, because it's using A, B, and C from these other files. And he'll be like, oh, okay, I see it now. It makes more sense to me. So actually you did the right thing. So you need to be able to talk about your own code. And you can't talk about your own code if it's code you didn't write. Yeah, it's a pretty good demo. They showed the complete kind of functionality of it. I think it's a good place to come back to and check it out. Yeah, I haven't used Razor pages in Visual Studio on Windows. I did do like a simple MVC, and I did try to do like a basic Hello World Blazor project, although I no longer do anything with C#, but that's that. Yeah, and yeah, what I would say, you're welcome for sure, and I hope that was clear now. But I would say, whatever you decide to do next, like I said, pick one thing. Don't try to do too many things and go for it. One of the biggest mistakes I made is trying to implement a lot of different things at once. And a lot of those projects got abandoned because just because it got too overwhelmed. But man, you got 4 projects. I don't remember if you shared your portfolio with us. Send your portfolio. I'd love to check out the projects that you made. And based on the hologram non-checks, based on the projects you already made, I could take a look at them and give you a suggestion of what to make next. But I think you have some good ideas that you want to do yourself. By the way, guys, I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining me on a Saturday. I know the stream was in a lot of different places. It was all over the place. If you smashed the like button, because you guys are true champions, I appreciate you guys. And if you didn't smash the like button, what do you want me to do so you guys smash the like button? Stand on my head or something, but I totally get it. This content not for everybody. But regardless if you like what I do or don't like what I do, I appreciate you all guys nevertheless. And I want to thank you guys for your time, for jumping on and hanging out with me. And before you guys go, if you ever miss any of my streams, they're always recorded. And I do have a community where we're going to start building our super awesome project together. That's going to be outside of my Tuesday night stream that I do, and all the content is going to be private to that community. That's going to cost a whole lot of $2.99. Basically, I want to create a community which will at least buy me free coffee, so I don't have to buy coffee at Starbucks myself. And I'm not saying you have to join the community at all, but if you want to join the community and you don't want to pay for it, there you could send me an email at codingafter30@gmail.com. Redux Toolkit, I love it, and definitely recommend you guys use it if you're using Redux in your project. But if you guys, before I go, want to join the one day when I'm not lazy and add payment system to my private community, you could join it for free by sending me an email at codingafter30@gmail.com. But hey, no, it's not that easy. You need to either send me a link to your GitHub that I see that you actually writing code, or send me a link to a portfolio project that you completed. So you'll be able to join this community for free. So the value proposition for you guys, for me, it's like, eventually when it's paid, I get free coffee. Or if you guys, because a lot of people have been asking, how can we support your channel? $2.99 a month, $2.99. It's not a big deal. And it's like basically you buy me a coffee. So that's a great way to give back. But also I want to make it charged because I want people who are seriously want to give something up, even if it's just $2.99, to show me that you are committed to coding. And by the way, if you're not coding, I'm going to kick you out of this community, because I want this to be not like a Discord channel where random stuff happens. I want it to be specifically for people that going to be building stuff and talking about stuff. So we have our Let's Chat section where people could talk about what you're doing, talk about what you're building, talk about some resources. Then share your project is super important, because this is where you are going to share your projects of stuff you're building, what you're doing, sharing your code pen examples, getting hired, that's coming soon. This is Dev Hunt project. Some of you guys are interested, like what I'm doing on Dev Hunt. So I post related stuff from our Tuesday night stream here. But the money maker is going to be this. The value for you guys is going to be this ability to work on a bug tracker, which is going to be a serious project. You'll be able to ask questions, see lessons that are only going to be through this community, and assignments that I'm going to assign that you'll be able to submit. And even more important is we have this checklist, which is the checklist I followed to get hired and get a job. So the whole point of this community is to work on our cornerstone project, which is your third project here, and also walk you through this checklist that helped me get hired. I'm not saying that it's guaranteed, but it's something that worked for me, and I share it with you guys in this community. So if you want to get on this community for free and not pay $2.99, which is just a cup of coffee once a month, you could send me an email at codingafter30@gmail.com, send me a link to your portfolio or your GitHub, and I'm going to add you. And by the way, one day when I'm not lazy and I incorporate payment system here, this community is going to be hidden behind the paywall, because I'm going to make so much money by charging you guys $2.99, right? $2.99, because if I have 100 people, oh my God, I'm going to make $300 a month. That barely covers my hosting and everything else. So like before, people say like, oh, you want a money grab, whatever. You know what? I can do whatever I want, but at the same time, I feel like I provide a lot of value, and those of you who want to support me and buy me coffee, more than welcome. And also, before you guys tell me I am greedy as hell, if you go to Coding After 30, I don't even know why I'm showing you this, the secret here. If you go to Coding After 30, click to schedule your one-on-one here. Yes, I have paid one-on-ones, but to give back to the community, I also give free one-on-ones, and you could check the schedule here when they're available, and you could schedule a free one-on-one with me to talk about any questions you may have. And that's kind of like me doing something good for my soul, giving something back to the community. And again, these fill up pretty quick, but I want to show to you guys that it's available there. But anyway, with that being said, I want to thank you, all of you guys, for your awesome time. If you missed the stream, you could always rewatch it on 2 times the speed, so you move through it quickly. But I want to say I appreciate all of you guys so much. I hope you have the best rest of the weekend, and all the things that you're looking to accomplish, you guys are able to accomplish. And remember, I'm not an expert, I'm not a guru. I'm some dude on the internet that's trying to do the same things you're trying to do. And the things that I'm sharing with you are the things that I did that are working for me. And I also talk about things that don't work for me. And so I'm very passionate about this, because the last thing I want you guys to do is to waste your time. I'm 41 years old, and I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste your time. So I appreciate all of you guys being part of this amazing community. And Justin B, I'm sorry, my man. My voice is starting to go, but you could always rewatch this. You could always jump on, and if not rewatching it, I'll be back on Tuesday during my project stream, and then next Saturday. I stream Tuesday and Saturday at 7 p.m. Central Time, and you could also find me on Coding Addicts live stream as one of the co-hosts on Mondays, 8 p.m. Pacific Time. Anyway, with that being said, thank you all for everything. And Justin B, on the next stream, I'm not sure what we're going to do, but I'm definitely going to think of some cool topics to talk about. So thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. You guys are the best. I love all of you guys. And thank you for letting me be part of your community and allowing me to share with you what I've learned. And like, you're the best motivation I have to continue doing this stuff. So with that being said, thank you guys so much. I'm signing off by taking and in the most dramatic way possible, I thought my lights were going to turn off everywhere and it was going to be dark. Anyway, that didn't work as dramatically I wanted it to. Man, whenever I sign off, more people join. God damn it, you guys. Why do you sign and join the live stream at the very end? I love you guys that you joined very late. You could always rewatch it, but I usually stream Tuesdays and Saturdays, 7 p.m. Central Time. But thank you for joining late. I love all of you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Lots of love, peace, happiness to all of you, to all your families, to wherever you live. Just happy thoughts all around. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys later.